This is a workshop for the Communications and Technology Committee. Thank you folks for coming in. It's always great to see residents join us. We have in the room, Matt's our town planner, Bob Butler, Richard Houses. I'm Ruben Mahar. And
Jim Letney, Storm Mountain. Jim Letney, also Storm Mountain.
I'll try not to confuse your names.
Susan Morris, Storm Mountain.
John Morris, Storm Mountain.
All right, well, again, welcome.
And who do we have in the audience, Ruben?
Let's see.
Well,
On Zoom, I mean.
I'm Kim Jameson from Flanders Corner. Audrey Navarati from Vermont Road.
All right. Okay. Still waiting for my computer to come up. What did we have first on the agenda?
I think citizens' comments is always the
Okay.
general thing.
Great.
In case someone doesn't want to spend an hour or two here talking about ConnectME.
All right, great. Let's start there with any citizen comments. Anything you'd like to have on the record? Don't everyone talk at once. Okay. All right. Well, if that changes, I know. Do you have a chat up that we're watching, Max? Or?
Yeah, I have a YouTube chat, so
Okay, great.
in case I hear anything.
Someday that will load. I should buy a Mac, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Get right on that.
I'm prejudiced.
That's all right.
Ruben, just complete solid state, you'll be fine.
Oh, I'm so close. So close. Oh, let's see here. I guess we called the order. I sort of skipped determining a quorum, but we do in fact have one. Any adjustments to the agenda? Nope. Great. Awesome. Do we have any minutes to approve?
No, I didn't have it this time.
No. That's fine. Citizen comments. New business, which I guess is why we're here.
All right. So you want me to just get into it?
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right. So for the people who were here last meeting, I announced that the ConnectME Authority did announce the ConnectME infrastructure grants. This is what we've been waiting for and why I feel everyone is in this room right now. What the CTC decided to do last meeting was give me about 2 weeks so I could take a first stab at the grant, get some writing in there, and speak with LCI to make sure that they're fine with this grant in the first place. So that's what's been going on for the last 2 weeks, and I'm just showing a first draft tonight. This can be amended, so Bob, Richard, and I were already talking about some little adjustments that need to be made ahead of time, and I'll go over that when we actually look in the document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to just start with the grant itself. And I'll try and speed through some of these items. So the first 2 pages are just talking about the grant. You don't have to worry anything about that. Here we go. So first part where we're at, and the red is what I've put in. So the red section is just the basic cover page. It's talking about who's signing it, the authority, or the fiscal agent, how much we're requesting, and I'm going to get into that amount in a minute. For point of contact for this community, I've put in Ruben just because he's the chair of the committee. But the applicant and agent, it's myself because I'm the one who's writing this whole thing. I've also put in Alan Hinsey from LCI as our partner. LCI may want to change that information. So eligibility, this is something that we're going to need LCI to take a look at. And that's actually the other thing I'll just mention right now. I am working on this, and LCI is going to have to take a look at it before it's submitted. So the first section describing the partnership, it's just a brief explanation saying that the town has worked with LCI in the past, that the town is the applicant, and we do need some information from LCI regarding that they are in good status with ConnectME. Let's see. And then previous experience in designing and installing. I just mentioned that LCI has done this fiber work before, and the fiber line that they're going to be using for this project would be using the one that's been used in a past ConnectME grant, so they should have that experience. So unserved areas, this is where we start getting into it. So the first question is just simply asking, how is it determined that these two are unserved? Fortunately, because we've had a very cooperative group with us, we were put on the ConnectME website for consideration for the unserved areas. So that's something that they're going through the current process right now, but that's the evidence we point to say that the people who are here tonight do need internet, they do need better service, because all they have is wireless data and satellite. So, and we'll also be including the letters of support that have come from some people already. And then the information for that. Provider outreach, I did this on March 10th already. I had to send an email to both LCI and Charter just to verify that neither of them had plans to start building out within the same time period. Neither have said that they are going to build out during this time period, which is all we really need to hear. So, executive summary. This is where we actually start getting into the narrative. So, this is just explaining that we want to expand the fiber line into Flanders, the southern end of Flanders Corner, as well as the entirety of Store Mountain. Pretty much there would be 12 residents, because I was told that Flanders has 5 residents who are currently unserved by high-speed fiber, or the 25.3 required speeds, and then 7 residents on Store Mountain for a total of 12 potential customers, and that this would be done within a 12-month time frame. That was something that LCI did say in a meeting that we had on Friday, that they are busy right now and they don't want to commit to something very early, but the 12-month time frame is something that's required by the state, so we're just putting that in there as just to be in a realistic time frame. Cost benefits, and I'll also go through when we have the points just to say how much I think we're going to get from that, just from the answer we're getting. So for the cost benefit, this is just saying with the amount of money that the state of Maine will be investing, how much per resident is going to give, and is that beneficial? So for 12 potential subscribers who would be served by this, and for a $24,750 grant, or 45%, we would look at roughly 45 points from this section out of 50. That's because if you look down here, the grant cost per customer would be just over this $2,000 price range, which would put us at the high end of the points. Now, if we wanted to go with the full 50 points, we would have to, I believe it's 43% is what we would be asking for, or $23,650. So that's just an item that we can talk. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or if you want me to go through the entire grant first.
Let's do it now. But is the additional $650 from, not from them, but from our side? That's not a lot of money. But what's the trade-off? How much do we lose by not having the full 50 points and losing 5 points because of the cost per hookup?
So the grant is estimated at the total project is estimated at $55,000 right now. That was LCI's estimate. And Randall Manning from LCI is right now reevaluating it just to confirm that that is the correct figure. But $27,500 would be a 50 grant. So I have to do a quick calculator here. So 27,500, that would be $2,291 that we would be getting per customer, or per customer. So that would be a difference of $230 per customer. I'd say that probably puts us in the, because we're only asking for that much, I'd say that puts us maybe maybe lower 40s, higher 30s.
But
For
we
points.
want to be closer to 50, don't we, on the point score?
Right, but that's the trade-off that I want to be part in the discussion with, and with all the residents we have right now, where their thoughts are. So that 45 also ties in to the last page, and I can skip to that if we'd like, but a 50% grant would get us 2 points out of 5 at the end. So whereas 45, we're looking at 3 points. So I'd say we're losing at least 5 to 8 points, maybe. But that's me being very picky right now with numbers, and also I can't speak for the ConnectME Authority.
Right.
But again, we have all the residents here tonight, so if not all 12, but quite a few number of households. So if people would like to give their thoughts, then please.
What's the likelihood, Max, with numbers that you currently are looking at for approval? Given past.
With everything totaled up, I believe I have this project at maybe 80 out of 110 points available.
Did they give you any in the workshop, any inkling as to what you had to be at for a percentage to be part of the approval?
They have not.
Okay.
In the past, they did projects that scored about 65 or 70.
Okay.
But
So
those-
we're well over that
We're all,
previous historical threshold.
but that was before these revisions as well. The other part is, and they said this during the workshop, that, and this was I was a bit thrown off on, the scores don't necessarily decide everything. I think they meant that as you could score 100 points, but if there's this other spot that has telehealth workers and it has all these school children, whereas this one place that scored 100 points is only going to get, I don't know, some seasonal residents, they may say, forget the score, let's go for the...
Yeah, so there's some subjectivity here, or
Right.
about just the rubrics, if you will.
Right. It was a weird curveball that a lot of people who were attending that workshop were very confused about, because it certainly questioned what the points even do at this point. It's like, whose line at that point?
Right.
Why does it matter?
So what we have to do, it's part of the rationale, is identify pretty specifically the type, either businesses, teaching,
Yep.
college teaching, could put more rationale, health,
Right.
with, put the full gamut on there, what's, would obviously benefit us. Hopefully.
We gotta all go back to school.
Well,
Well, and that does actually get addressed later on in the application if we want to put a pin on the grant cost right now and just come back to it after we discuss everything.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think that's really important to do, to put as much factual information we can about the needs
right.
of each of the residents living on each of those areas.
And I believe that comes near the end with
From what I read.
project scope. But we'll go through all this first. So community support, this was just asking, what has Waldeboro done to even get to this point? The fact that the CTC has been meeting, it's always been waiting with bated breath to get to this ConnectME grant. In fact, we're all here right now. The outreach that we've got and support that we've been seeing already even before the grant was announced, that's all good and would probably give us a few points. I don't know if it would give us the full 5 points for it, but it certainly does show that this wasn't some last minute thing we just threw together, that we do have recorded documents of us working on this. Yes, John.
A quick question or observation. Some of us are retired or semi-retired, but as a person that whose practice still continues, even though I'm at home these days, we are, like most everybody else, very tied to the electronic communications. Our clients depend on being able to download us and view us from wherever they happen to be. And having a more sophisticated and better system is greatly valued by the people that I work for. You know, in communicating our ideas and what become more often than not projects that involve local labor.
Right.
Max, do you want more in-depth narratives from us at some point to add to that scope part?
I will get to that in just a bit.
Okay, because we did develop those.
Yeah,
Wow,
we
better.
wrote that stuff down, didn't we?
Right.
No, and the letters,
One other thing we could do in this part is just emphasize the continuity that this committee's had ever since we lit up Old Augusta Road. I mean, it's been around for like 7 years now. I don't want to exaggerate the time, but there's been a continuous thread of community involvement in broadband in this town for quite a while. This committee's been around for a number of years now. It's not just, I don't mean to demean this project. This project is really important, but it's a continuation of efforts that have been made consistently in the past.
I think that's a good point. You know, it's not like Johnny come lately.
Right.
We're gonna jump on.
Yeah, we didn't form the committee because we got 2 spots in town that need
Right.
help.
Right.
We've been working on this for a long time.
so I'll add that into the narrative, just the emphasis on the CTC still having the ongoing work of addressing the unserved pockets in town, so I'll make sure to include that. Going on to the rest, project focus. So first 5 points are regarding how many people will sign up for it or anticipate to sign up for it. Assuming the 12 customer figure is accurate, we would need at least 9 commitments, so 9 people to sign up through the LCI website to get the full 5 points. And then active community, this is what I was talking about, where another 5 points about community engagement and throughout this planning process. I feel this would be around a 3, strictly because I think while we have been meeting, we have these recent meetings as well. I feel there are some other communities that are just going to show a lot more evidence of their work towards this. So I put it in a 3, just to show that we have done it. We could have possibly done more, so we didn't have to get to this exact moment. But again, that was me. Of 5 points, it's something we don't have to worry too much about.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bob.
No, go ahead, Jim.
Just to clarify, when you were talking about the number of people out of the 12, what's that kind of a time frame with respect to signing up with LCI? Is it prior to this is submitted, obviously?
Right. Well, that's part of the contract, and that's part of the contract that I'll get to in a bit with LCI's sign-up thing. Because that was another thing that LCI mentioned in our conversation,
Right.
that they don't want to lay out all the fiber just to get no one. They want to make sure that they do have that. And I feel we also have a strong showing if we do have the physical evidence of residents saying
Right.
we are doing it.
Right.
But in terms of time frame, that is a good question.
And the thing is,
Right.
with LCI have an input on this, and they say we have 10 people from these 2 roads that have made a commitment on their website over and above the document that you have drafted. So we're looking at what, April 10th on this?
April 12th is when it needs to be
12th?
submitted, yeah.
So, just kind of looking at, we've got about a month, a little under.
To see,
So I want clarification on it.
all right, so ask me. Okay. And I'll send that. Time frame.
Because not everybody is here, and we all want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. I'm concerned about defining what the process is. I mean, it says you have to go to the LCI website, but what if you don't have connectivity and can't do that? Can we arrange that through your office and actually have people come in, or if we go, I'll take it to them. But have them, if they want the service, have them bring the contract to them, or they come to us and have them sign that contract, so it's a done deal, and we know exactly what the numbers are.
Would it be reasonable to ask Alan if we could forward on, if someone wants to physically sign a form, if they don't want to come in to fill out the internet form for some reason?
Right.
Could we just get a sign off on, hey, Alan, can we bring you a signed form? Or can we get instructions on, hey, take your signed form to this address so they have it? I could understand LCI not wanting us to scan them a form because they can't control who owns the form. But just that secondary method, most things that are online have a physical sign-up option.
Right.
God forbid the internet here breaks. Just that secondary thing to make it easier for people, is that?
Well, it kind of begs the issue. You're unserved or you're not served, and then they expect you to give them a form online. To me, it's just ridiculous.
You're in the middle of it.
It makes no sense.
So, and that's something that I can amend in the contract at the end.
Okay.
So,
Because I can see John throwing the computer across the room. Getting halfway through.
all right.
Well, we don't want to put you through that, for sure.
So,
It's a
moving
good
on,
point, though.
oops. So moving on from active community, get to project scope. This is just talking about the actual plan and Flanders Corner and Storm Mountain, saying why it needs to be done. I mentioned the GIS maps that I mentioned earlier. Only have wireless satellite and data providers. There's no hard wires. Storm Mountain, I mentioned how it used to be served by a red zone tower. I believe you were served by a red zone tower.
Some of us,
Yeah.
not everybody though.
No, you guys can get it, right?
We get US Cellular, the tower Route 1.
Well, I do mention red zone and how it has
Chris
been.
and Holly were red zone, but from Chris and Holly Moyles, I'm sorry, we're getting red zone from,
A different tower.
Clary Hill Tower or something.
Okay.
But yeah,
They said they're on a satellite.
yeah, I'm talking, we were talking about before.
The point is, I do mention the red zone tower and it's
Yeah.
decommissioned. It was decommissioned in 2019, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the people who live on Storm Mountain who would benefit, it's not like right next to Old Augusta Road. You're pretty far in there, correct?
1.4 miles.
Yeah. So that's the other part.
To the very end, yeah.
And then with Flanders Corner, I mentioned I believe it was a 900-foot gap between the electrical poles where the LCI fiber currently ends and what's needed to get it to the rest of the road. Proposed service. This is just figures from LCI fiber for the retail. This I do need to come back to when ConnectME has some better answers. During the workshop, they were asked a few questions that they did need some time to look into, and I'm hoping to get those answers by early next week. So this section will be amended, but for now, I'm just assuming based on what LCI is offering for retail service, and that is their lowest price of $49.95 monthly with associated taxes for 50 download speeds, 10 upload speeds, and
What is it you're expecting or asking ConnectME to come back to you with?
And that's actually, there was a separate email I sent, and I'll get to that too. But one of the questions was, for this question, what determines 15 points is the upload speeds. So is the upload speeds that ConnectME is asking for are what the provider is offering right now through their retail services, or is it what they potentially could serve? Because in the past, LCI has offered, I think they've offered 100, haven't they?
They have.
They have. They do have the potential to do it. So if a customer was to ask, hey, can I get 100 upload speeds? It's possible, but it's not advertised on the website right now. So does that mean LCI could, or our application, could get this possibly 15 points, full 15 points, just because LCI can offer 100 megabits? Or do we have to say probably 4 points because they're offering 10? That's what has to be clarified from ConnectME. Is it the potential or is it the current retail that they are asking for?
Do they distinguish between offering and making available?
Yeah, right.
To me, there's a difference. And if it's available, I mean, you could do 800 up.
Well, and that's what we need ConnectME to sort of clarify. And they are waiting, and I am hoping to get that answer next week.
If they don't clarify it, and I don't have a lot of faith that they will, because they don't seem to be able to make decisions up there, could we add to our application that, yeah, the package is 50 down and 10 up, but we have available whatever LCI wants to commit to. We have available 100 by 100, if there are customers who want that.
They also have 100 by 20 right now. Is
Right.
there
Right.
any advantage to including that?
We can include 100 by 20. It would still keep us in that low area.
Yep.
And in terms of what you were talking about, Bob, I would need LCI to be fine with the language. But I do mention in the last sentence of the proposed service, residents who require improved download or upload speeds are asked to speak with LCI Fiber for potentially higher speeds.
Well, but you're using the word potentially.
Yes.
I mean, if they've got it wired, it's not potential, it's there if you ask for it.
So
Well,
take out
didn't
potentially.
we have a document from LCI that actually offered both or an upgrade?
It was just the 120 and then the 5010.
Yeah.
Right.
There isn't anything that offers the 100.
The symmetrical.
Okay.
In writing.
The other stuff is case by case, and they've gone through various versions.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Max, but we also repeated this question to LCI on Friday, I believe, where we talked about, there's what their equipment can do and what they're offering retail, and then there's their business case for it. They're capable of doing. Well, I don't want to commit them to a number, but they can do some pretty impressive numbers both ways, depending on what you're buying from them.
And
For the
yeah.
purposes of this, that's obviously a different conversation.
Yeah, and I guess I actually should have clarified that in the beginning. When I said, spoke with LCI on Friday, that was Ruben, myself, speaking with Randall Manning and Alan Himsey from LCI through a Zoom call.
That fiber can handle over a gig. I mean, for upload.
Exactly.
You can handle over 10.
Exactly. I mean, like.
And when they first came to Waldoboro, they were advertising that kind of symmetrical service. They changed it because people weren't understanding it. Most people weren't buying into it. And Spectrum couldn't offer symmetrical service. So they wanted something to compare apples to apples. And that's why they've done this. But the availability is there. People want to have it. And I think we ought to mention that in the
So
application.
Max, when do you think you'll get clarification? And if not, what's our strategy, to Bob's point, if they don't really clarify that for you?
I'm hoping they're going to give me an answer by next week. If they don't, I have to kind of do what Bob was saying. I have to stick with sort of this 50, 10, and 120 because that's what's available, but really shove in the narrative that this is the retail price, but this is what they've done in the past, and it's the same fiber. They can do it right now if people ask very nicely.
Good point.
It's the thing I'm kind of left with because I don't want to say we can do the full 100 and put that in there because that's kind of misleading if LCI says, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, we don't want to commit them to something they can't do. And we don't want to overload them either. They've done a really nice job coming up with a very simple menu for people. And they're also, it's possible to oversell a technology. LCI seems pretty responsible in terms of, let's say you offer someone a gig down and 100 meg up and you sell a whole block. Most companies will do something called over provisioning where they sell everyone the product with the knowledge that most people won't be using it right at the red line all the time. LCI operates in a real conservative way on that stuff as far as I can see. That's all personal opinion, but watching the history they've gone through, there's a reason those numbers are placed that way, and there's a reason their existing people, I think, are so happy.
So could you, and this is obviously just thinking off the top of my head, include specific language that LCI would be okay with, saying that in business setting or whatever, this fiber is capable of handling up to X, whatever they're comfortable saying.
Yep.
You know, and
That's-
then that way we meet that criteria there, but then later on, we're under that 50 for what the minimum is for what people want.
Yeah, so in my dream world where ConnectME does give me answers by early next week, I would then update the actual section and then have it sent to LCI hopefully by the end of that week and say, here it is, can you take a look at it, give us some of the information that you're required to give.
Yep.
And then that gives them plenty of time to look through it so we can take another final stab at it at the CTC meeting the week before this has to be submitted.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, that was the 15-point area. So that's probably where we're going to get the biggest sting. Now the potential customers. So the first, again, 12 customers are anticipated. For the number of businesses, I put down 3 just because I know there are some people who work from home. I don't necessarily know how many specifically work from home and how many are working from home right now because of COVID-19 and how many are permanent working from home.
Hello?
Hello, who do we have here?
Hey, you can hear me. I've been shouting. This is Kay Whitner. I don't know if you can see me or not.
No, you're probably, if you, on the bottom left of your screen, there's a camera, a red camera. You just need to click that.
Bottom left of my screen, red camera. No.
Well, it's fine. We can hear you. That's all that matters.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
That's
can't
fine.
find it. I'm on a phone, and that might be the difference.
That might be the difference.
I'm listening to a lot of this about whether you can get 100 or whatever. And while I know that if you're in business or if you're working for a newspaper or something like that, you really need those speeds.
Mhm.
But I just want to give you folks a dose of reality. Right now, I have 0.8 megabits per second, which is why I'm calling you on my phone. We can't even do a Zoom meeting from my house. And yes, it's great if we can get the 100, but I don't want to not move forward on this if we can. So I don't want to tell LCI, you know, we got to do this. We'll take 50 and be ecstatic. And I'm just worried if it sounds too expensive and the people on the street here don't want to sign up for it because it's too much money. I don't want to go back to my Verizon hotspot again. I mean, please don't make it so that LCI walks away from this.
No, just, yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not trying, I don't think anyone's trying to say 100 or nothing. What we're just looking at is just the points because I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but if you're on a phone,
I can see things, yeah.
Okay, well.
They're tiny.
All right. The whole discussion about the 100 megabits was just this 15 points right here. I mean, without it, just get this possible 2 because of the 10 megabits per second upload speeds. We're still looking pretty good in terms of points. I think 80 out of 110 is what I came up with. So it's not as if that this was a make or break. This was just a matter of if LCI can give us some more points, we go from a B- to an A. So it would be nicer to have. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
So now on to potential customers. Again, businesses we would just need to have clarified for some people who's working from home, if it's permanent, if it's long-term or short-term, and if there are other people who've always just been working from home even before COVID. But that'll come later in the letters of support. So in terms of these first 5 points, we are under 130 customers. Please don't try and push it here. It's going to be 130, so we're going to get 0 points. Fortunately, they have this bonus 10 points. That'll be our saving grace because assuming it is 12 under the 1.7 miles between the half or 0.6 miles that Flanders Corner has that's unserved, in addition to the, I think, 1.1 that's probably more from Store Mountain.
Yeah.
The more the better.
I mean, getting all the way to their house, granted, it's probably as the crow flies versus the road itself.
Well, I'm talking specifically the electrical poles you
Yeah,
have.
and it probably is 1.1.
Yeah.
So it's much straighter shot.
So that puts us just under 2 miles. So as long as we have under 20 subscribers, we would be getting 10 points. So that's very good.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. We'll take the 10.
Yeah.
Timeline milestone. Again, the 12-month period. This was something that LCI just asked to include, just because they don't want to be saying that we're going to get it in 4 months and something comes up and now it's going to be moved to 6 months. It's better to say it's going to be a while so that we have good news that it's coming in half the time, rather than saying it's going to come in half the time and then it's going to take the 12 months. So it's not a defined 12 months. We need to hear that the grants are awarded, and then we can have some more updates, similar to what we do with the CTC meetings right now, where we're contacting them and saying, please give us these bi-weekly updates so we can tell everyone else what's happening. Financial commitment. Again, Randall from LCI is seeing to confirm that the 55 is it, that it's not going to go higher all of a sudden next week. And he's also looking to see if there's ways to bring the price down. I have asked him for some other ways that we can try and pick at this price. If we could get CMP involved, if we could do some different options. I think we discussed like a wireless type thing to go from one pole to another. All ideas seem to be more of this is the cheapest option, the 23,000 to get the two new poles in, and getting CMP involved is probably not going to get us a massive difference. So this is just the breakdown from what was presented by Alan, I think, in early January. 32,000 for Store Mountain, 23,000 for Flanders Corner, and then this is the commitment this is the grant over here. This is how much needs to come from the local matches. And I said in my email when I sent it to the CTC members, we do have a price from LCI. I'm not comfortable saying it right now just because if it's not 55 and it goes down to 50, that might change. Mm-hmm. And they need to know that that the rest of the money will come from somewhere. But it is a good amount of money. I'd say it's an amount that I wouldn't look twice at, and I would take it.
They're willing to commit.
They're willing to commit funds.
Okay, good. That's what we want.
Yeah, it was not these have been great conversations. They're, they want you guys to have access to it. Ultimately, it gets their business running.
I was going to say, long run, they're going to make money.
They're gonna make,
Right.
we're not going anyplace else.
No one's going to go back to satellite.
So is the understanding, Max, that the grant will cover 24,750, all things being equal, and that the remainder, the 30,250, will come from the residents?
The 30,250 is the local match, so that's just, it can come from anywhere.
Can come from anywhere, okay.
The residents, LCI, paper bag full of money that we find in a dumpster somewhere behind a business.
Yep.
It can come from anywhere.
Okay, got it.
Although the third option is probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you never know.
In the lottery, I'm messing with you. I'm just putting that out there.
I
Okay.
have a question about phone calls. Are they gonna have an issue with our phone calls and say they don't like them?
I don't believe they've had an issue with it so far, and I think that's part of the $32,000 price tag, because we've had LCI look at Store Mountain in the past. I think, what was it, 2 years ago? It was like 25. It was like 25,000, and that was based on everything there. Now the price has just gone up because of everything going on. So it is considered in the price. But that's why Randall's looking at it again, making sure everything is correct.
And this does include, was it 2 poles I need to put on in Flanders Corner?
Yes, to mind that 900-foot cap.
Yeah, okay, so it'd be 2 poles they've costed in for that.
Which isn't really which isn't going to be that expensive
Right.
project. So this is the item that I mentioned earlier with a 45%. That'll give us about 3 points because it's on the higher end of the scale. So it then just comes down to filling in that last gap of this 30,250, which, well, I guess that'll get to the contract. Previously, when we tried this back in June of 2019, the idea was residents would commit saying, we know your lowest price and we know the monthly amount that you'll have. To cover it, you can take what our portion would be, assuming all 12 residents sign on, and that can be added to our 3-year contract per month. So I think at the time it was still $49.95. I'll round it up just to 50. At the time, if it was possible, residents who, taking the whole price into consideration, I think it added maybe $40 onto the 3-year contract.
Yeah,
So
35 to 40.
so residents would pay $90 for the 36 months, and then once the 36 months is over, that $40 is taken off, and you go back to the 50. You can go, and if the price was lower, you could change it at that point. But that was the understanding.
Right.
The same agreement would be proposed right now. If some residents want to take their portion and just pay it up front, you're more than welcome to do that. That's something to discuss with LCI, though.
Do the residents pay for the distance between their closest phone pole and their house? Is that how it works?
Funny enough, I think this is how it all started with you, Jim. You called me and said it was 600 feet and then $1 per foot.
Yeah.
So that's...
That was whatever that number came from.
Yeah, but it is actually correct, though.
Yeah,
So
no, you're right.
from the telephone pole, if your home is within 600 feet of that telephone pole, then you just pay the basic installation fee that everyone else does. But for every foot that goes over 600 feet, you would pay an additional $1. So if your home is 1,000 feet away from it, it would be an additional $400, yes.
How about, we have conduit coming up from, I don't know how many feet it is, but from where the phone pole takes off through the woods to go up to the rest of the road.
I'd have to confirm with them that, but I believe the conduit is the same. I believe it's still a $1 per additional foot. But I'll confirm that with them.
Was it 600 feet or 250 feet?
I thought it was 600.
I think that's what I originally heard that, but I think it's 250.
We
That's
should
what I
confirm
thought
that
it
because
was.
I have
I think
250.
it's actually in here, isn't it?
It might be.
Hearing that.
It might be, all right, 250.
I think it's 250.
Here, 250.
Yeah.
Again, I'll confirm.
Which is, that's pretty standard for most ISPs, regardless of medium. I don't know how they got there, but they did.
It is 250 feet. I remember it's in the contract.
That's what it is for
That's right.
electrical uses that as their standard.
I bet they share the same contracts, just too hard to make
To
it
your
going.
point, Max, you're right. Someone had told us that, and they didn't have the right information. I was like, really? I don't think so.
Well, 250 feet in this case.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then project value, this is just going into the fact that this isn't just going to be LCI getting customers. This is going to be customers who get a very good internet connection. This isn't some limited time thing. So for the first part, this is talking, I'm sorry. So where you see 2 points here, this is where we were talking about the letters of support for businesses, telehealth workers, and patients, students, small businesses, anything to really say, this isn't just someone watching Netflix, this is someone who depends on this type of thing. And in the contract that I have, and I'll share in a minute, I did include a little table at the bottom that just says, for the residents who are signing it, just a quick indication. Do you have someone who lives at the property? Do you operate your business from there? Are you a patient or a doctor or I should say a medical professional who uses telehealth? And then I have another section because I think, Jim, in your case, there are notes that there's work being done for the Damerscott town office. It doesn't really fall into either of those 3 categories, but it is a pretty important use.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be your area.
Have we actually interviewed each of the residents on these 2 roads to figure out what their profile is?
We did a little write-up.
We did some.
Storm Mountain.
On Store Mountain, what about Flanders Corner?
We have two right here.
Have you interviewed your neighbors to understand how their life is going to be made easier professionally and personally if they have access to broadband?
Could I ask, is that something that we could do? I know Pam's listening in, and I see that you said letters of support. I haven't written such a letter yet, but I'm sure willing to write one.
Well, depending on the language that's going to be completed by the CTC and LCI, I would send out something in snail mail to the residents up at Flanders Corner to say, here's what we have. Please take a moment if you can to just fill it out. But if you do want to write out your own personalized letter of support, that would also be appreciated. Just to say, this is who we are, this is why we need it, and so on.
When would you look for something like that?
When would I like the letter of support? Or
Yeah, when do you need it? Yeah.
ASAP.
Okay.
Yeah,
ASAP.
The application is due April 12th, but I am hoping we can have it all submitted. Maybe it would be April 7th. That's like 2 days after the CTC meeting, correct?
Yeah.
So April 7th is when I'm hoping to submit everything.
Great.
But I think that's really important for this grant application, that every single resident write a letter and say why it is this is so important to them. And everybody's going to have a different story. That's what's going to make the application unique,
Right.
and attractive.
Well, and those are also bits that'll help. That'll be sort of the last minute changes done in this application, because I'm only just basing it on what I have from the Store Mountain letters of support right now. I know there's a lot more that can be changed, but I just need to see that in writing, because as I said with the 100 megabit bit, I don't want to mislead ConnectME either, because I don't want to get everyone their internet and then we get a very awkward conversation from ConnectME later that the application wasn't correct.
Fair enough.
So, but yes, letters of support. Please feel free to get as many people from Flanders Corner to know about this and send in letters of support. That'd be fantastic.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this, I'm just having a really hard time hearing. It was doing great, but my internet's in and out. Is this letter separate from the letter that I'd already sent in to ConnectME?
If you have a copy of that letter that you sent to ConnectME, and you can...
Well, it was actually an email.
I would still appreciate the email. That would actually still be fine.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You can send me the email, and that'd be fine as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So that was the first 2 out of 15 points for this section. And then service prices, again, this is the retail price that LCI is offering right now. So 50 down, 10 up for $49.95 plus tax. And that gets us the most points of the last 10 points, as long as the price per customer per month is under $65. So that's pretty good. As long as the tax is an additional $20, but that's, again, something LCI has to confirm. And then affordability offerings, once again, LCI, because I know like through the CARES Act, they were expanding for school children and whatnot. So if they have a special program, then we would include it here. If not, we're following the retail price, so we don't get 3 points. And then subscription rate. Goes back to the contract where it's just saying residents are saying that they will sign up or they will go to LCI's website to confirm through their own process. And that's the application. So the final application won't be using the exact, it's not going to be subscription rate and then all these tables. It's going to be its own separate document just because there's some clutter I have to get rid of. But the red text will stay, and some of the headers will also remain, just to tell ConnectME this is where this item is. So That's the application. So, Jim?
Well, do you have something else to say? Anyways, the last time that we met, and I was wondering if ConnectME changed their MO. You had said the first round was gonna take, or they're gonna allow 7.5 million to be invested.
Yep.
Into the program and grants.
Yep.
Any changes from that?
No change. 7.5 for this
That's the
round.
same rationale. What, so the only thing you thought was different was how they might be subjective on a project if, even though the points come in good, but if there's, let's say, several medical people that need the service or kids or whatever, and that's really kind of a, out of our control.
Right.
So the better rationale we can put together for both roads, the more helpful it can be.
So that actually will bring us back to the earlier point of the amount we want for the grant.
Yeah.
So as I say, 45% was a number I just threw out there. It could be lowered by an additional 2% or, oh, sorry, just trying to flip back all there. By reducing to 2% or 23,650, we would be underneath that 2,000 and get the full 50 points. But after hearing everything with bringing it up to 50%, it doesn't change too much in the point structure in the grand scheme of things.
And Max, we may even get more than that. I mean, it's a $2,000 range, and we're over by $60, $63.
Right, well, that's for the 45%.
Yeah.
We do 50%, it does bring it up to about, I think, 2,900 per customer.
Yeah.
So it's still in that very high 40s, low 40s, high 30s.
We lose the points at the bottom because we're at 50% too.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was like maybe, I think, 3 points.
3 points, yeah.
So do you think, you're looking at this, is that being the sweet spot, do you think, or, I mean, what's your?
In the middle of this, I just got the notice that my hotspot's gonna turn.
You can tell them
I'm sorry, I just got the notice that my hotspot's gonna choke back my rate because I went over my 15G allocation.
That's all right. If you want, you can actually call the Zoom conference room if you'd like.
That's all right, I don't care. I'll probably be able to hear you.
All right. You can also.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Video uses so much. It's just ironic to move.
Yep.
I guess,
Use as evidence.
I mean, I don't have any skin in this game because I don't live on Flanders Corner or Store Mountain, but I would, given the cost involved and the minimal reduction the grant amount requires to get that 50 points,
Right.
I'd go for the 50.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt to throw it out there,
That's correct.
you know?
All right.
Robert, are you saying to get the 50 points here or get the 50%?
Now, the 50 points, it's the points.
So-
It's the points you're going after.
So if you're going for 50 points, that means the cost per person is going to go up.
It will go up marginally. It will go up a little bit, like about $600.
I can also have both prices just finished and then sent out to everyone tomorrow if people just need to see what those prices look
Okay.
like.
I think a hard number on both sides is a good idea.
Because that was only something that was just crossing my mind like 10 minutes before I had to let people in. I was like, I should probably have that already. Yeah, Pam?
Do I understand correctly that if we get the 50 points, every person that wants to participate would have to pay $2,600, give or take? Is that what I understand?
That's what it should go to.
No, that's what, if we get the 50 points, that's how much.
Well,
It
no,
would
20.
be per person, right? It'd be under 2,000.
Per person, it would be $2,600 per person. So if all of the people say, sorry, I can't afford that, or some of the people, does that leave the rest of the people high and dry? I mean, or do the remainder, say all 12, say, I'm sorry, I can't, or some of the 12 rather, say, I'm sorry, I can't afford that, does the difference get divided up between the people who say I'm in?
Yes, and that's why we do need to make sure we have all 12 residents, or at least a majority of the 12 residents, on the same page of what to do going forward. Because if we do say the 43% figure, which puts more cost on the residents, and we have more residents, let's say only 7 want to sign up at that point, we start losing a lot of valuable. We lose a lot at that point. Like, I'd say having 12 people involved is probably just as important to this right now as the match grant, or the amount we're getting from the grant. So
I don't know about Storm Mountain, but I'm not 100% confident that everyone on Flanders is gonna be able to do that. Just saying.
Max, for clarification, that's the number that is going to be representative of how much of the grant money each person is going to be receiving to get it.
right,
And the difference would be how much we'd have to come up with, conversely, less what LCI is willing to put up.
correct.
Yeah.
There's the $30,000 figure that has to come from a local match.
At that percentage that we are
Right.
right there.
No, this. Let me scroll down to the actual costs.
Because that's a little
Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean?
So
You could,
this right here is where this 30,250. That's the price we're looking at.
right.
So take out X for what LCI is going to contribute, and you're left with Y. That's going to be what residents have to.
Divided by 12.
So let's say LCI hypothetically is gonna put in 15,000. That's just my crystal ball.
All right, half the
Okay?
cost. Let's go with
So
that.
now we got 15,000, what is it?
250. Yeah.
Okay, so let's extrapolate those numbers out there.
That's about 15,250. That's about
13,
1,000 a piece. 1270.
1,200.
1270 a piece.
So that would be the residential contribution.
Right.
Over that 3 years, or they would pay that. up front.
$35
Yeah.
extra a month.
So
Does that clarify it?
Pam, did you hear that?
Is it-
I heard just bits and pieces of it. I apologize.
Why
So
don't you-
so essentially, Jim threw out a hypothetical number where LCI gives 15,000 as a contribution. It's just a hypothetical.
Okay,
Right now, with the 45% we would be asking for from ConnectME, we are left with $30,250 between the residents or a local match. So take out 15,000, we're left with $15,250. Divided by 12 is going to be, oops, I'm sorry. 15,250 divided by 12 means each resident has to do $1,270, which could be an upfront cost, or as I said, it could be divided over a 36-month period for an additional 35 on the lowest offer of $49.95. So
It would be another $28 a month.
35.
okay.
35. Where'd you go?
85. It's like $85 a month.
85.
Yeah, sorry, another 28 plus 85, you're right.
Right.
That's what the total would be.
That puts you
Okay.
slightly, that's slightly less than the average broadband bill for for an average cable subscriber these days.
And it's half for unlimited satellite.
So does that sound better?
And keep
Much better.
Yeah.
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 And keep in mind, that's at the 45% estimate that I gave. I can send out an email to everyone tomorrow saying what the 50% looks like and what 43% looks like, just so people are more comfortable with numbers, and then I can actually start hearing from everyone, 43 is better, no, 50 is better, and work on that.
Okay.
And the other thing too is if LCI doesn't give us anything, you're looking at that 30,250 and dividing it out.
Right,
I mean,
by
we know that
36.
they're gonna contribute something.
Right.
But we don't know what that number is.
Is there any problem with if somebody comes up short and doesn't quite make the thing, the rest of us pass the hat and make it happen?
Well, that's why I need to start reaching out to everyone right now to see how many of these 12 residents are committing right now. Because if all 12 commit, then no problem. If we have one person who's holding out, then
We're still in the okay. 'cause
we're still in the
there's
we're still in the okay range.
Alright.
I think I would just need to speak with LCI and say, if this one resident does decide to sign up, can we make sure that the other residents who actually put forward a bunch more aren't
Yeah.
left out in the cold?
I have something I'd like to ask you to consider so if you're breaking this pricing information out, obviously a perfect world, we get 12 people. Would it be possible to have ready, and I guess we'd have to decide to share it or not, a grid with 9, 10, 11, and 12 people subscribing? So you just have ready, okay, if nine people are able to take this on, what that cost would break down to. I'm not looking for every scenario. Let's assume all the other things you've assumed. And that will just give you those numbers. So that way you all could see, I don't think getting to 9, well, it's obviously a lower challenge than getting to all 12.
Right.
Hearing what I've heard and just thinking about past meetings and all you folks that have been nice enough to call or come in or write, I feel like 9's it's not 1,000% safe, but it's a pretty reasonable thing to expect. And so we could show you an example of how that would slide. You could see the drift, and that would let you maybe prepare for the what ifs a little better. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Jim?
Max, I think what might be helpful and at least for me, where we're talking about points on the grant, if you do those other two estimates of the 43 or the 50, say how many points that's gonna change, because it affects like 2 or 3 different areas if we up
Yeah.
that, right? So if you showed that, be like, yeah, we got the 50%, but we're down to like 72 points. Is it worth that difference of, hey, we would have been at 95 points, and it's that, just so that way we can weigh all 3 options to be like, okay, what seems the most beneficial?
Right. And I'm fine doing that.
Okay.
Again, I think one of the the big piece that will help determine this is what ConnectME says for the upload speeds.
Right.
Because if they say, oh, LCI can do 100 megabytes, so you guys can get the 15 points, I think that pretty much covers everything.
The point behind that question is the longevity of the technology. And I think that might be
And
where,
it's scalable. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the,
there you go.
if I read it correctly, it looks like they're asking about the scalability of the service that's coming in.
Yeah.
Is it finite or is it actually able to expand?
yeah, everyone's backbone is fiber. Whatever they're selling, there's fiber somewhere in their thing.
So, was there any other questions regarding the application?
There's one other question.
Yes.
and This is just to make sure I understand it. When we talk about things like, what is someone doing for home, for education, for work, when we talk about the medical uses,
Mhm.
are they specifically looking at physicians and providers or people that will use the technology to benefit any part of that spectrum? Because I would think, anyone I've talked to, any physician I've met, most people hopefully have access to a doctor. And there's going to generally be a situation where being able to communicate via video is going to be helpful,
Right.
whether you're a physician or whether you're the patient.
Right.
And so that's the piece I don't understand how they're looking at that, because whatever your walk of life is, I don't know about you, but if I can talk to my doctor but not go into the building, I'm gonna do that one,
Well, that-
you know?
Perfect example is, Linda's been dealing with some things. We had to go to Boston several times, and then COVID hit, and thank God for Zoom,
Yeah,
because we were able to have face-to-face discussions that, you be up the creek.
Yep.
Right.
So that's a good point, because, it's not just,
yeah, and they take that across whatever scenario they go to. Are they talking about providing or just having access to?
okay,
Fair point.
good point.
So, all right. Were there any other questions regarding the application in its current state?
Thank you for doing all this work. We've been nodding a lot. Max does so much good work.
So I'll also point out that ConnectME held their workshop on the 10th last week. I did attend because it was required for all towns who want to submit this application, so they can't take us out on the technicality. I like that part.
Nice.
The meeting was recorded and should be available on the ConnectME website if people would like to take a look at it and see it's all good. I can go over the contract, or I can go over the recent communication I had with ConnectME. Which one would you like?
I leave it to you folks. I already know what the contract is, but I want this to benefit you all.
I'll do that
The
then.
contract, because that'll at least put that in a clearer perspective for everybody.
So now what's up on the screen is a document that was initially used back in June 2019 when we tried this, and it just didn't go all the way through. This was a document that was reviewed by LCI at the time. They do have to review it again, but in the conversation that Ruben and I had with them, this is something they would like to have, just as a guarantee that we do have written support saying that people will sign up for it. It essentially just outlines that the people who are signing it are aware of the costs, they're aware of the grant program, they're aware of what they are expected to get from LCI. I do need to include the numbers. That's not really finalized yet, just because of what I mentioned with Randall confirming all the figures and us making sure that we do have the LCI contribution. And the 250 feet from the nearest fiber drop, so there's that. And then signature, physical address, telephone, email address, date. And then at the bottom, this is what I mentioned was the new item that I included, just stating the main points that ConnectME is looking for in this. So this is just part of the supporting documents we would include, just to back the claims that there are people who go to school here, there are people who operate their business from here, there are people who use telehealth here, and if there's another use that doesn't relate to one of those three, people would just check the other and then write down what they do. People would be asked to just fill this out. I would mail this to the people on each of the E911 addresses for both Store and Flanders, and include a document, a separate letter that says, this is for the ConnectME grant. Please fill this out and have it sent back to the town office by this date. You can either mail it back, you can hand deliver it, you can do whatever it takes. Yep.
So LCI will review it, put in those figures as to what their cost is going to be for the installation, and presumably what they're advertising for the 5010, and that's going to be no longer a draft, and that'll be an actual contract saying that we're committing to sign up for it when they put it in.
Right, and it'll also say and the contract says at the bottom, just before the signature page, and Bob did mention that it will be changed to, I will be obliged by this document and sign up for one of LCI's plans under the requested process by completing an online application. I can't delete that now because I think, but by completing an online application at lcifiber.net. We'll amend that as well by just saying by completing their process. But yes, it would be a more finalized contract. And that was it. I'll share the contract with everyone tomorrow as well. But are there any questions for it as it's written? All right.
Is someone trying to speak on Zoom?
No.
Everybody's okay?
That's the fan going behind her head.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Good for you.
Max, whenever you do send stuff out, just, I think, from the number standpoint, use the KISS method, keep it simple, so that people can,
Okay.
It can be confusing,
Oh, I think we see K now.
because we're not, by any stretch, technocrats, a lot of us.
Yep.
Dinosaur?
So the last thing I'll bring up, I know you're ready to go. Yep. All right, well, I'll send out all the information tomorrow anyways, just as a recap of this meeting.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you for coming.
It's all about our hands.
Thank you.
You got it.
Have a
All
good
right,
night.
see you guys. We'll catch up.
Oh,
Susan, you got your gloves?
so the last bit I do have is just some communication that I had with, I think it was Peggy Schaefer from ConnectME.
Yep.
There were just 3 questions that I had that weren't really addressed. One was what they mean by continuous That was something that we were talking about.
Is it continuous or contiguous?
Contiguous, I'm sorry.
It is contiguous. Okay.
This was something we discussed last time as well. They didn't really address it.
No.
That's the unfortunate thing. And in the email that I got from them this morning, I was very forthright and said, I don't want to submit the wrong application. I don't want us to be hurt just because we're applying for 2 roads instead of 1. I really need clarification right now. And they said,
Yeah.
They said they couldn't really give me an answer, but they're not going to disqualify us or say, and they said they're not going to hurt our application if we submit for 2 roads. I'm not comfortable with that answer, but I mean, Bob, you kind of said it earlier. I can't really, they're not going to give a straight answer, but I have to submit something.
Yeah, we've got to take our shot, but yeah.
But the other 2 questions that I did have for them, one was about a GIS map. That's something that's going to be required, that I just submit a GIS map showing all the potential customers and the existing lines to show that it's not served. That's something I'm going to have to do. Eli did have a 3rd question, but I didn't print one copy out for myself. Richard, do you have that in front of you?
What is that?
I had 3 questions for ConnectME. One was for GIS.
Yes, I have that in front of me.
One was for contiguous. One about
This
the contiguous.
I have the town asking 45% and combining all points together. And also.
It's right here.
They
It's
did
right
not
here.
answer questions. And this is it
Combining
say
points
contiguous?
and then questions. They didn't answer in the workshop.
No.
Does it say?
I'd have to pull up, actually. I'm sorry that this is gonna drag the meeting on a bit. This is actually more, just go back.
Oh, okay.
No, the one with Peggy Schaefer. This is.
Oh, it's part of that one.
So let's see, question 1 was the contiguous area. The second one, okay, it was the one we already discussed. This was about the project scope and the upload speeds. That's what it was. So I wasted all that time for that. And the 3rd question was about GIS map. There was someone during the workshop who asked, they have all the resources, they just don't know what they mean by submitting a GIS map and where someone would even start that if they don't have someone in the planning department or a GIS map readily available. And the state didn't really answer it. The ConnectME Authority didn't answer it. So we're hoping that they're going to say that in their next FAQs that will hopefully be released next week. That's all I have.
You might touch base with LCI or whatever, but, contiguous versus continuous, is that what we're talking about here?
The question is more what they mean by contiguous.
Well, yeah.
Because what they've been saying is that this expansion project is only supposed to be discrete for these quick little expansions for 1 or 2 roads. Well, here we are doing 1 or 2 roads. They're just on opposite ends of this fiber line. But when you look at the community-driven broadband and its goals, it's about universal access throughout the entire town, which, granted, that's what we're doing, but we're not doing it with fiber, and most people are already connected. So we wouldn't apply for community-driven broadband because that's not what we're doing. So we have to fall into the first one. But does this mean we're only limited to doing 1 road, or are we allowed to do 2 because it's on the same fiber line? Because this isn't the fiber line down on Duck Puddle, this isn't Main Street, this isn't, pretty sure that's all we have for fiber lines, but it's not anywhere else, so it's in that 1 strip in North Waldeboro.
Well, then the thing is, where you have part of Flanders already on it,
Right.
and then Old Augustro has it.
And that's what I'm asking them to
You know what I
clarify,
mean?
because it's there. It's not going anywhere. It's the same line, but they're just not giving me a clear answer of, yeah, it's fine under this category. You can apply for 2, but they're not saying that it's supposed to be one road either. They're giving me
So they're giving you a mixed signal.
a very mixed signal.
I would do the simplest one, which is it's on the same line.
Then that's the
In your
argument I made.
cover letter, tell them why you're using that form of application. So they understand that it is contiguous
Right.
in the context of being part of the same line. And it's not a community-wide thing.
And that's what I do plan.
That's what I would do.
Just making that clarification.
Yeah.
Got it. So
Okay,
that's all I had for this topic. I don't think there was really anything else for the ConnectME grant unless anyone else had something.
Nope.
Oh, Pam had to leave. The only other thing, and this is just a topic that I'd like the CTC to talk about in the future, is digital literacy and just how residents who do have broadband now can get the most out of it. In terms of LC, I think this was another topic that Ruben and I also brought up with LCI. You know, people are realizing that more is a bit better. Maybe they can get a lot better with some improved plans, and it's just a topic I'd like the CTC to talk about in the future.
yeah. Think about, it's like getting electricity. If you didn't have it and then you got it, well, how do I use this? Is it
Right.
Yep.
and just email, is electricity just light bulbs, or can I hook up all these appliances?
And actually just showing the difference, we just had the example right now of what 0.8 megabytes upload is for a Zoom call versus what we're all doing right. I don't even know what the town's upload speed's here, but it's
Pretty high.
Yeah. So, some type of comparison like that.
I wonder if the education area planning, perhaps in the future to use this for teaching. Now that we've gone through the COVID situation, they may decide, we could offer this, that, and the other. So there's always possibilities for the future
So that's just a
for
topic.
education of
Well,
children and adults.
My sister Audrey teaches at the university as well as Madomic Valley. So, Audrey, why don't you jump in?
Well, yeah, I've taught online all last spring, taught online when we were out for 3 months. I get a couple of university classes that I taught for UMaine online all fall. But there's lots more things that can be done, as you were saying, with the access, And so, but I think, it's pretty critical for most of us who it's just part of our work. And obviously, COVID made it more intentional, but it would not surprise. I also take graduate classes online too. Those are online. So anybody who, is doing some schoolwork online, like if kids who graduate and stay local, they're taking online classes. Like it's just such an imperative need.
So it's just a topic that I think would be beneficial to have in the future.
I think that's a great idea. We could go on for hours on the things you can access are things you might not have ever thought of.
Yep.
I don't want to hold up everyone all night, so that's all I have. If you guys want to go through the usual of adjourning.
I feel like anyone have any comments to make you haven't made yet?
No, ready to adjourn.
I'm going to take that jacket going on as a motion to adjourn. Looking for a second?
Richard?
Okay.